The year was 2013. Suddenly, a terrifying bomb explosion shook all of South Korea. Everyone was desperate to find the terrorist responsible. But when the terrorist was finally revealed, the entire nation was left in shock, because he was no ordinary person. At the beginning of the story, we are introduced to Yoon, a radio jockey, RJ, working for SNC Radio, an FM station. That day, Yoon was hosting a live call-in show, discussing the rising income tax with the public. However, he wasn't always an RJ. He was once a top news anchor at a major TV channel. But after being caught airing stolen news, he was demoted to radio. His personal life was also in turmoil. He had recently divorced his wife. During the live show, an unexpected call came in from a man named Park. He started talking about bizarre things. When Yoon tried to hang up, the station staff realized something strange. The call couldn't be disconnected, no matter what they did. Initially, they thought it was just a technical glitch and decided to shut down the live broadcast. But Park was no ordinary caller. He was a skilled hacker. He had taken full control of the radio station's system and warned Yoon, "Don't you dare cut my call. If you do, I will blow up the bridge right next to your office." Yoon assumed it was just a prank call and mocked him, saying, "All right then, go ahead. Blow up the bridge. Let's see if you really have the guts." Park warned him multiple times, saying, "Don't provoke me. I will actually do it." But Yoon kept challenging him. "Stop talking and prove it with action." Park then hung up the call. A few moments later, a massive explosion shook Yoon's office. No one could understand what had just happened. When they looked outside, they saw the massive bridge near their office had really been blown up. Panic spread through the entire station. Yoon immediately thought of calling the police, but suddenly stopped. A clever idea had struck him. He realized that now, the entire nation's media would be fighting to cover this breaking news. But only his station had direct contact with the terrorist. Since the first phone call hadn't aired live, no one else knew about it. Yoon figured that the terrorist would likely call again. Instead of just reporting the incident, he wanted to air a live conversation with the terrorist on TV, ensuring that the entire country would tune into their channel alone. But there was a problem. He was no longer a news anchor. He had been demoted to a mere RJ. So he immediately called the director of his TV channel and said, "I have exclusive information about the bombing. The terrorist contacted me first. I have the call recording. If you want me to broadcast this on your channel, I have one condition. You must let me anchor this live on TV. I want my promotion back." The director instantly agreed. Meanwhile, Yoon anxiously waited for Park to call again. But the call never came. He realized that since Park had called a live radio show the first time, he might only contact them again if they were live. So Yoon quickly resumed his live radio broadcast. He warned the public about the bombing, and just moments later, Park called again. Park's first words were, "So, how did you like my little fireworks show?" Within seconds, the entire country realized that the terrorist was live on this radio show. Yoon tried to keep the audience engaged by asking, "So, you're saying you're the one who blew up the bridge?" Park replied, "Yes." Immediately, Yoon ended the live radio broadcast and spoke privately with Park. He told him, "Since you want to address the public, why limit yourself to radio? I can get you on live television." During this conversation, the TV station director arrived at the studio. Sensing an opportunity, Park then made an unexpected demand. He said, "If I give you an exclusive interview on live TV, what do I get in return? If you transfer 21.79 million won to me, I'll do it. Because of me, your channel's TRP viewership rating will skyrocket. You'll make millions from ads, and I won't get a penny? Think of it as an investment in me. Otherwise, I can just call another channel." Yoon and the director were stunned. They didn't know what to do. They replied, "Look, we can't just pay money to a terrorist." As soon as Park called another television channel, Yoon and his boss, seeing it live, immediately agreed to pay him. They couldn't afford to lose such a big opportunity. Finally, Park agreed to give an interview on their channel. Within moments, they transformed the radio station into a news studio. During the live TV show, Yoon asked Park, "Why did you attack the Mapo Bridge? Tell us everything, because the entire country wants to know." Park replied, 30 years ago, when the construction of the Mapo Bridge began, I was one of the workers there. My family was very poor, so I worked overtime to earn enough money just to put food on the table. Everything was going fine. But 2 years ago, when world leaders came to our country for a summit, the government decided to renovate the bridge again. They called us back for the repairs. To feed our families, we started working once more. One day, suddenly, the bridge's railing collapsed, and 3 of my co-workers fell into the river. They were still alive, but no police or fire service came to rescue them. Everyone was too busy ensuring the safety of the foreign leaders. Does our life have no value? My 3 friends had to die just so they could put food on their families' tables. That's why I blew up the bridge, to take my revenge. After hearing this, Yoon asked, "All right, I understand everything. But what do you want now?" Park replied, "I want the president to come on this live TV show. I want him to apologize to us and to the people of this country." But that was impossible. So Yoon said, "Listen, you can't just make absurd demands. That's not going to happen." Hearing this, Park hung up and called another TV channel, pressuring them to bring the president on live television. But, as expected, they refused. In response, Park detonated a bomb inside that television studio's microphone and declared, "I have many more bombs like this. If the president doesn't come live, explosions will continue, one after another." Park then called Yoon again and demanded that he go live immediately and bring the president on air. Yoon tried to explain, "Look, just because you're asking doesn't mean it will happen. Bringing the president on live TV isn't that easy." Meanwhile, Yoon's ex-wife had gone to Mapo Bridge to report the news live from the scene. At the same time, Park warned Yoon, "If the president doesn't appear live, the bombings will continue. I've planted explosives in several places, including the earphones you're wearing right now." Yoon was completely shocked. Park added, "If you try to tell anyone about the bomb in your earphones or attempt to take them off, your head will explode instantly." Right after saying this, Park detonated another explosion at the Mapo Bridge. Yoon was speechless. He feared his ex-wife had died in the blast, but luckily, she was still alive. With no other choice, Yoon went live again. This time, Park commanded him, "Call the president directly. I'll give you his number." Meanwhile, the television station director kept signaling Yoon from outside, telling him not to listen to Park and to try to distract him. But Yoon had no choice now. He had to listen to Park. If he didn't, his head would explode. Yoon directly calls the president, but instead of the president, his secretary answers. Yoon asks, "Sir, you must have heard about the terrorist Park's demands. So what decision have you made?" The secretary replies, "For the sake of the president's security, we cannot disclose any details at this moment. However, we assure you that the lives of our citizens are our top priority. Rest assured, whatever action we take will be carefully considered. And of course, we will not show any leniency toward terrorists." After this conversation, the secretary ends the call and sends an officer from the counter-terrorism unit, June, to meet with Yoon. June provides Yoon with strategies on how to communicate with Park. Following June's instructions, Yoon tries to emotionally manipulate Park by showing him video footage of the people trapped on the collapsing bridge. He says, "You claimed that 3 workers fell into the river and died. Didn't their lives have any value? Today I want to ask you, do the lives of these people trapped on the bridge mean nothing to you? They have done nothing wrong." But even after hearing this, Park remains unmoved. He threatens, "If the president doesn't come within the next 10 minutes, I will kill every person trapped on this bridge." With no other option, the president sends the regional police commissioner to negotiate with Park. However, as soon as the commissioner arrives at the studio, he angrily says, "Do you really think you can get away with this? We have all your information, your name, address, and even a sketch of your face. The best thing you can do now is surrender. If you do, we might be able to reduce your sentence." Hearing this, Park furiously yells, "I will never surrender. Do as I say. Bring the president here immediately." The commissioner responds, "The president of this country will never bow down to criminals like you." This statement enrages Park even more. He shouts, "I have worked honestly for 30 years, but you? You've looted billions, falsely accused innocent people, and abused your power. I have all the evidence against you." Infuriated, the commissioner starts arguing with Park. June and Yoon try their best to de-escalate the situation, but the commissioner continues to provoke Park with harsh words. At that moment, Park remotely detonates the commissioner's earpiece, killing him instantly. Everyone in the studio is left in shock. No one knows what to do. Meanwhile, the live TV broadcast gets cut off. Seizing this moment, June tells Yoon that they are trying to track Park's location. However, since Park is using various tracking blockers, his location appears to be different every time. Still, June is confident that if they can keep Park talking for at least another hour, they will be able to pinpoint his exact location. Meanwhile, by watching other TV news channels, Yoon learns that despite the multiple explosions on Mapo Bridge, not a single person has died. The only person Park deliberately killed was the police commissioner. This realization makes Yoon suspect that Park must be watching the bridge in real time. He had detonated the bombs only when he was sure there were no vehicles on the bridge. So, he immediately calls June and informs him about everything, telling him to thoroughly search the area around the bridge. Meanwhile, seeing all this, the channel's director gets extremely angry. He asks Yoon to read a message that stated, "There will be no negotiation with terrorists. The government will capture Park very soon." The director actually wanted Park to kill everyone trapped on the bridge so that the public would understand that Park is a dangerous person and that he wouldn't have anything left to blackmail with, allowing the police to quickly apprehend him. While Yoon was under a lot of stress from all this, Park had just gone viral with the recording of his and Yoon's first conversation. Immediately, another TV channel calls Yoon directly and asks, "When the terrorist first called you, why didn't you inform the police? Does this mean you have something to do with all this?" Yoon didn't know what to answer. Then they asked more questions. "You were a radio host for so long. How did you suddenly present such big news today? Also, we have information that you stole a report your wife created and published it, which led to your demotion. Is this true?" Hearing these questions, Yoon was extremely embarrassed. He just said, "Look, all the information you have is false. I haven't done anything like that." The person on the other side responded, "Mr. Yoon, all these questions were part of terrorist Park's demands. We didn't do anything personally." After the conversation ended, Park once again told Yoon, "It's because of thieves like you that we're in this bad situation today. If you had properly reported the accident from 2 years ago, we would have gotten justice. But you didn't do that. Now you can't even bring the president to the studio. So what benefit is there in keeping you alive? I'm about to blow up another bomb on the bridge." Park was about to detonate the bomb, but Yoon's ex-wife was still on the bridge. Yoon desperately pleaded with Park to stop. He promised that he would bring the president to the studio at any cost. Meanwhile, a helicopter arrived to rescue the hostages. But upon seeing this, Park detonated several smaller bombs to ensure no one could be rescued by the helicopter. He warned, "If anyone tries to rescue the hostages, I'll detonate more bombs immediately." Hearing this, Yoon began pleading live on TV, asking the president to come and apologize to the public. Unfortunately, due to the explosions of the smaller bombs, the bridge collapsed terribly and sank into the river. Yoon realized his ex-wife might have died in the disaster. He was extremely frustrated, not knowing what to do next. At that moment, Jun called him and said, "We've located Park. We'll catch him soon." Jun, along with hundreds of police officers, surrounded the building. But then Park called Yoon and said, "Great, this is exactly what I wanted. Now I'm going to blow up the entire building." Hearing this, Yoon immediately called Jun to warn him. But by the time he did, it was too late. A massive bomb exploded, and the whole building started collapsing. It was Yoon's adjacent building that collapsed, falling directly onto Yoon's studio. In the blink of an eye, both buildings were reduced to rubble. At the very last moment, Yoon's secretary suddenly called him. He says, "Don't worry, Yoon. We've sent people to rescue you. You will be taken straight to jail." Yoon, surprised, asks, "What have I done?" The secretary replies, "Look, the terrorist activity has stopped, but after all this, everyone will think you are involved with the terrorists because you didn't report the first phone call to anyone. Because of this, you will be arrested." Yoon realizes he is in a very bad situation. Then, Park calls him again and says, "I'm coming to you, to punish you personally." Yoon, crying, says, "Please don't kill me. What have I done?" Park responds, "You'll find out soon, and yes, there's no bomb in your earpiece. I lied." Yoon, surprised, quickly takes off his earpiece, and then realizes that Park actually called him from the landline on the floor below them in this building. That means Park is in this building. Yoon quickly starts setting up the studio again, planning to go live once more. However, at that moment, we learn from other news channels that the person named Park, who had been threatening all along, actually died 2 years ago in the bridge incident. In other words, the park they had been chasing was not even a terrorist. Meanwhile, Yoon goes live from within the collapsed building and informs everyone, "I am still inside this building, and the terrorist is here as well. Don't worry, I will catch him. Stay with us to find out the terrorist's true identity." Before he finishes, the terrorist appears right in front of Yoon. A fierce fight begins between the two, and we soon realize that the terrorist is actually a young boy. During the fight, the boy falls from the building but manages to hold onto a wire, hanging precariously. Yoon approaches him and asks, "Who are you? Why did you do this? And why did you target me?" The boy finally responds, "I am Park's only son. My father worked honestly his whole life, but after his death, he received no help from anyone. All I wanted was to hear an apology from those responsible for my father's death. Can anyone admit their mistakes? Is it so hard to apologize? I targeted you because my father always watched your news. He believed in your news blindly, but after my father's death, you didn't even mention his name in some reports. Now, I have no other option but to destroy this building." But then, snipers from a distance shoot and kill the boy on the spot. After his death, various news channels announce, "The government has successfully killed a dangerous terrorist. This terrorist had been creating false stories to kill innocent people." In the end, truth triumphed over lies. Suddenly, within moments, the boy is transformed into a national villain, though the real fault lay with the government. Seeing all this, Yoon becomes deeply disheartened. He takes the boy's bomb remote and sets off a suicidal explosion. Along with the two buildings, Yoon is also destroyed. And with that, today's story comes to an end. So, how did you find today's story? Let me know in the comments.